She's doing it again, I thought, watching my wife Olivia hold court with her coworkers in our living room. I gripped my whiskey glass tighter, counting silently to 10. The expensive wine I'd selected was flowing freely. Ambient lighting I'd meticulously adjusted cast everyone in a flattering glow, and the appetizer spread I'd prepared since dawn was disappearing rapidly. But not one of these corporate vultures had bothered to thank me or even acknowledge my existence. My husband? Olivia's voice carried across the room as she placed extra emphasis on husband, like it was some exotic specimen. Oh, he's our resident homemaker these days. Her perfectly manicured hand waved dismissively in my direction as her colleagues' laughter bubbled up around her. That was it. I set down my glass and crossed the room with purpose, inserting myself smoothly into their circle. What my wife means, I said, my voice steady and confident, is that I'm rebuilding my tech portfolio after TechSphere's collapse while handling the domestic front so she can focus on her career. I turned to Olivia with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Teamwork makes the dream work, right, honey? The surprise on her face was worth the momentary tension. Her colleagues shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware they'd been laughing at someone standing right in front of them. Jason used to be VP of Development at TechSphere, Olivia said quickly, trying to save face. Until the acquisition, I added, 200 of us were cut in a single afternoon. That's corporate America for you. I raised my glass in a mock toast. One day you're indispensable, the next you're dispensed with. David Chen, Olivia's new project manager, looked genuinely interested. TechSphere, that neural interface architecture you guys pioneered was groundbreaking. Thanks, I said. Still is, actually. I've been consulting on a similar project for a startup in Austin. Not the same salary as before, but the work is fascinating. I could feel Olivia's eyes burning into me. She hadn't known about the Austin project. I'd stopped sharing my professional progress with her months ago when it became clear she saw my career struggles as a convenient boost to her own ego. Excuse me, I said pleasantly. I need to check on the main course. In the kitchen, I took a deep breath, rolling my shoulders to release the tension. 18 months ago, I had been the golden boy at TechSphere, pulling in six figures with stock options that made our future look dazzlingly bright. The acquisition had changed everything, not just my employment status, but my marriage. Need any help in here? I turned to find David leaning against the door frame, a curious expression on his face. I'm good, thanks, I replied, sliding another tray of canapes into the oven. That neural interface work you mentioned, that was yours? I nodded. Led the team for 3 years. Damn, no wonder Stratosphere's tech division is interested in you. I paused, wooden spoon suspended over the sauce I was stirring. Stratosphere? Olivia's company? Yeah, our CTO mentioned your name yesterday. Apparently your resume's been circulating. He looked uncomfortable. I assumed you knew. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Interesting. I'd applied to Stratosphere 6 months ago, but Olivia had told me they weren't hiring in my field. Clearly that had been a lie. Look, David said, lowering his voice. I don't know what's going on between you two, but our tech division is expanding. We could use someone with your experience. The pay won't match what you were making at TechSphere, but it's steady. I appreciate that, I resumed stirring. Send me the details and I'll consider it. Will do. He slipped a business card onto the counter. Don't mention it to Olivia yet. Office politics, you know? I'd rather approach this through proper channels. I pocketed the card, a new resolve forming in my mind. Understood. After he rejoined the party, I thought about how drastically my life had changed. The acquisition had revealed a side of Olivia I'd never seen before, or perhaps chosen not to see. Her initial reaction to my layoff hadn't been concern for my well-being, but panic about our finances, followed by an almost predatory calculation once she realized her career was taking off just as mine had crashed. The first few months, I'd been too shell-shocked to notice the subtle shifts in our dynamic. I'd thrown myself into job hunting while handling more household responsibilities to support her longer hours. But as rejections piled up and Olivia's promotions rolled in, something ugly began emerging in our relationship. It started with small comments. Don't worry about dinner. I'll pick up something with my grown-up money, she'd say with a laugh that didn't quite mask the barb. Or, Maybe we should get you an allowance for all your hard housework. When I'd ask about our budget for home repairs, I'd confronted her about it 4 months in. Do you realize how condescending you sound lately? I'm just teasing, she'd said, looking genuinely surprised. Can't you take a joke? Not when the past is consistently at my expense. She'd apologize then, seemed sincere. Things improved for a while, but as her star continued rising at stratosphere, senior account executive to department director to vice president of marketing, the comments returned, more cutting than before, and increasingly public. The timer dinged, pulling me back to the present. I arranged the canapes on a serving tray and returned to the living room where Olivia was now holding forth about her latest marketing campaign. The client practically begged us to take on their account, she was saying, gesturing expansively with her wine glass. I told them our terms were non-negotiable, and they just folded. Signed the contract that afternoon. That's my shark, said Craig from accounting, raising his glass in salute. Speaking of which, Olivia's eyes found me. Jason, everyone's glasses need refreshing. Be a dear? The room went silent. Every eye turned to gauge my reaction to being ordered around like waitstaff in my own home. I met her gaze steadily. Everyone's an adult here, Olivia. The bar's fully stocked. I'm sure they can manage. I set down the tray of canapes. These, however, won't serve themselves. Enjoy. I walked away, catching the approving nod from David and the flush creeping up Olivia's neck. It was a small victory, but a necessary one. 6 months ago, I might have complied to avoid conflict. Not anymore. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. How's the party going? I typed back, Olivia's in rare form, but I'm holding my ground. Good for you. Call me tomorrow. My mother had never been Olivia's biggest fan, but she'd kept her opinions largely to herself since the wedding. Recently, though, her concern had become more pointed. Are you still letting her walk all over you? She'd asked during our last phone call. The question had stung because it contained a truth I'd been reluctant to face. I had been enabling Olivia's behavior. After that conversation, I'd made a decision. I wouldn't leave, not yet, but I wouldn't be a doormat either. I'd focus on rebuilding my career, maintain my dignity, and see if our marriage could weather this power shift. If not, well, I was preparing for that possibility too. The freelance work had started as a necessity, but was becoming a legitimate path forward. 3 steady clients, positive referrals, and the Austin project David had mentioned, a neural interface startup that had specifically sought me out based on my tech sphere work. It wasn't the same as my VP salary, but it was growing. And more importantly, it was mine. I'd opened a separate bank account 2 months ago without telling Olivia. Not hiding money, just creating some independence. There you are, Olivia's voice startled me. She'd appeared at my side, cheeks flushed from wine and success. Why are you hiding? Not hiding, just taking a breather. She leaned close, her perfume, expensive, new, purchased without consultation, enveloping me. The Richardsons just arrived. Cynthia and Mark, they control the Bailey account. Be extra charming. I'm always charming, I said with a thin smile. It's part of my appeal. She squeezed my arm, a warning disguised as affection. And maybe don't mention the freelance thing. It's just confusing for people. Confusing, I repeated flatly. You know what I mean. Her smile remained fixed, for the benefit of anyone watching. It's easier if they just think you're taking some time off. Some time off for the past year and a half. Her smile tightened. Jason, don't do this now. Do what? Exist? Have a career? Embarrass you by not being as successful as your friends' husbands? That's not fair. No, it's not, I agreed quietly. None of this is fair, Liv. Something flickered in her eyes at the use of her old nickname, but it was quickly replaced by cool detachment. We'll talk about this later. Right now, I need you to be a team player. Interesting choice of words. When did we stop being a team and start being your employees? She flinched, glancing around to ensure no one had overheard. Later, she hissed, before gliding away to greet the Richardsons, transforming instantaneously into the corporate chameleon I'd grown to despise. I watched her work the room, remembering how that same charisma had once captivated me. We'd met at a tech conference. I was presenting a panel on emerging software architectures. She was there representing her marketing firm. She'd asked the most insightful question during the Q&A, then sought me out afterward to continue the discussion. Our courtship had been a whirlwind of intellectual connection and mutual respect. When I proposed 6 months later, she'd cried and said yes, 1,000 times yes. What had happened to that woman? To us? My phone chimed, an email from the Austin startup. Another project, bigger budget, 6-month contract. I smiled to myself. Perfect timing. I made my way over to the Richardsons, plastered on my most convincing smile, and played my part. The supportive husband, the gracious host, but not the doormat, not anymore. Later that night, after the last guest had departed and Olivia had kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief, I found myself standing in our bedroom, watching her remove her makeup at the vanity we'd bought when we first moved in. Your friends seem to enjoy themselves, I said, aiming for neutral territory. Colleagues, not friends, she corrected, wiping away her mascara. But yes, it was a successful evening. The Richardsons were impressed. Good to hear. I hesitated, then decided to lay my cards on the table. I'm taking the Austin contract, by the way. 6 months, remote work, with a team building on my TechSphere architecture. She paused mid-motion, eyes meeting mine in the mirror. You never mentioned an Austin contract before. You stopped asking about my work months ago. She had the grace to look slightly abashed. How much? Enough that I won't need to ask you for allowance anymore. The word came out sharper than intended, but I didn't apologize. She turned to face me fully. You're upset. What gave it away? Jason, she sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. What do you want from me? I'm doing my best here. I'm keeping us afloat. I know that, and I'm grateful for the financial stability you've provided. What I'm not grateful for is being treated like an employee in my own home, being the butt of your jokes, being something you're embarrassed by. I'm not embarrassed by you. No, don't mention the freelance thing. What was that about? She looked away. It's complicated. Work politics. You wouldn't understand. Try me. I ran a division with 200 employees before TechSphere collapsed. I think I can grasp office politics. That hit a nerve. Her eyes narrowed. Fine. The truth is, people respect power. They respect success. When they look at us, I need them to see a power couple. Not, she trailed off. Not what? I pressed. Not a successful woman and her unemployed loser husband? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I turned away, sudden exhaustion washing over me. I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight. Jason, don't be ridiculous. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being honest. Something we haven't been with each other for a long time. I gathered my pillow and a spare blanket. At the door, I paused. By the way, David mentioned something about an opening in Stratosphere's tech division. Strange that you never mentioned it when I applied 6 months ago. Her expression clouded. David should have talked to me first. Why? It's my career, not yours. Because I'm a VP there, Jason. Because hiring decisions go through my department. Because it would make things awkward. I stared at her, disbelief giving way to anger. Are you saying you blocked me from getting a job at your company? I'm saying it would be complicated, that's all. She turned back to her vanity, effectively dismissing me. We can talk about it tomorrow. But we didn't talk about it the next day. Or the day after that. Olivia left early for a breakfast meeting, then texted to say she'd be working late. By the third day of this routine, I realized she was avoiding the conversation entirely, hoping I'd drop the subject. I didn't. Instead, I emailed David, accepting his offer to forward my resume to the tech division again. Then I called my mother. She's been actively preventing me from getting hired at Stratosphere, I told her, sitting in my home office as afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows. Oh, Jason, my mother sighed. I've been worried about this. The way she spoke to you at Christmas, it wasn't right. I winced, remembering. Olivia had made a show of giving me pocket money as a stocking stuffer in front of my entire family. Look, honey, now you can buy yourself something nice, she'd cooed as if speaking to a child. My father had left the room. My sister had changed the subject. Only my mother had met my eyes with quiet fury. I've been fighting back more, I said, setting boundaries, working on building my business so I have options. Good. You deserve better than this, sweetheart. People show you who they really are when they have power over you. Remember that. After we hung up, I sat for a long time turning her words over in my mind. Was my mother right? Had Olivia's success simply revealed her true character? Or had power changed her, corrupted her in some fundamental way? My phone chimed. An email from David. Got your resume. Looks good. HR wants to set up an interview next week. You free Tuesday at 10? I typed back quickly. Absolutely. Thank you for this. Don't thank me yet. You still have to impress the team. Though between us, they were pretty excited when I mentioned TechSphere. A flicker of pride warmed my chest. TechSphere might have collapsed, but the work we'd done there, the innovations, the breakthroughs, still meant something in the industry. I hadn't lost that, even if my wife seemed to have forgotten it. I spent the rest of the afternoon researching Stratosphere's recent projects, familiarizing myself with their tech stack, and preparing answers to likely interview questions. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of purpose, of possibility. Maybe this was the turning point we needed. Maybe once I was working again, contributing financially, Olivia would see me differently. When she came home that night, later than usual and slightly tipsy from after-work drinks, I decided to try again. Hey, I said, looking up from my laptop as she dropped her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door. A bowl I'd made in a pottery class last winter, trying to find hobbies to fill the endless hours of job hunting. How was your day? Exhausting, she sighed, kicking off her heels. The Bailey presentation is next week and nothing's ready. I had to completely redo the slides my team prepared. Sometimes I think I'm the only competent person in that entire building. I'm sure that's not true, I said mildly. You hired most of them, didn't you? She shot me a look. Exactly. Which makes their incompetence even more frustrating. I took a chance on them, and this is how they repay me. I bit back a retort about the difference between leadership and dictatorship. Instead, I said, I have an interview at Stratosphere on Tuesday. That got her attention. She paused in the act of pouring herself a glass of wine. With David's team? Yes, the tech division needs someone with my experience. She finished pouring, her movements deliberate. I see. I thought you'd be happy. It's good money, solid benefits, and we'd both be contributing to the household again. Happy, she repeated, taking a long sip. You really think it's a good idea for us to work at the same company? We wouldn't be working together directly, different departments entirely. But people would know we're married. It would complicate things. Complicate what exactly? She waved a hand vaguely. Office dynamics, my authority. I leaned forward, fixing her with a steady gaze. Let me be clear about something, Olivia. I'm going to this interview. If they offer me the job, I'm taking it. Your concerns about office dynamics are noted, but this is my career, and I'm rebuilding it with or without your support. She looked startled by my directness. You're being unreasonable. No, I'm being clear. There's a difference. I closed my laptop. I've spent 18 months supporting your career by handling everything at home. I've been patient while you've made jokes at my expense. I've tolerated being treated like an employee rather than a partner. But that ends now. Her face flushed. That's not fair. I've been carrying us through a difficult time. Someone had to take charge. Take charge, yes. Belittle me at every opportunity? That wasn't necessary. I don't belittle you. Jason's exploring his domestic talents. I mimicked her tone from the party. Every woman's dream. That ring any bells? It was a joke. For God's sake, learn to lighten up. Would you find it funny if the situations were reversed? If I introduced you as my little homemaker? If I gave you an allowance in front of my family at Christmas? She flinched at that. Good. At least she had the decency to recognize how humiliating that had been. I admit that was in poor taste, she conceded, but you're blowing everything out of proportion, making me out to be some kind of monster. Not a monster, Liv, just someone I don't recognize anymore. I stood gathering my things. And for the record, I'm not asking for your permission regarding this job. I'm informing you of my decision as a courtesy. I left her standing there, mouth slightly open, as if I'd slapped her. Maybe I had, metaphorically speaking, but sometimes a shock is what's needed to break through denial. The weekend passed in tense silence. Olivia spent most of it at the office, ostensibly working on the Bailey presentation. I used the time to prepare for my interview and finalize the contract with the Austin startup. By Sunday evening, we'd barely exchanged 10 words. As we sat at opposite ends of the couch, screens glowing in the dim light, she finally broke the silence. "I spoke with HR about your interview." I looked up sharply. "You what?" "Relax," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I just wanted to make sure there were no policy issues with spouses working at the company." "There aren't, as long as there's no direct reporting relationship." "That's good to know." I studied her face, trying to read her intentions. "So you're okay with this now?" She sighed, setting aside her tablet. "Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice, Olivia. You could choose to be supportive. You could choose to see this as a positive step for our marriage, or you could choose to keep seeing my career as a threat to yours." She looked away. "It's not that simple." "It actually is." I closed my laptop. "I'm going to bed. Big day Tuesday." As I started to rise, she reached out, catching my wrist. "Wait, I've been thinking about what you said, about us not being a team anymore. That's not what I want, Jason." "What do you want?" "I want us to be partners again. I want you to be happy." She hesitated. "I know I've been difficult lately. The pressure at work is intense, and I've probably brought too much of that home with me." It was the closest thing to an apology I'd heard from her in months. I felt a small spark of hope flicker to life. "I want that too, Liv. I miss us." She moved closer on the couch, taking my hand. "Then let's try to find our way back, starting with your interview. I want you to crush it." "Yeah, yeah." She smiled, and for a moment I glimpsed the woman I'd fallen in love with. "They'd be lucky to have you." We spent the rest of the evening going through potential interview questions, with Olivia offering insights about the company culture and the key players I'd be meeting. It felt good, collaborative, supportive, like old times. When we went to bed that night, she curled against me, her head on my chest, and whispered, "I'm sorry. Things got so messed up." "Me too," I said, stroking her hair, "but we'll fix it." Tuesday arrived, and with it, my interview. Olivia had already left for an early meeting, but she'd texted a simple, "Good luck today. You've got this." I dressed in my best suit and headed to Stratosphere's gleaming headquarters. The interview went surprisingly well. The team seemed impressed with my TechSphere experience, and we had a productive discussion about the challenges they were facing with their current project. By the time I shook hands with the CTO at the end, I felt cautiously optimistic. "We'll be in touch soon," he promised. "Very soon." As I was leaving, I ran into David in the lobby. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Good, I think. Really good, actually." He grinned. "Told you they'd be interested. Listen, are you free for a quick coffee? There's something I want to run by you." We found a quiet corner in the company cafe, and David leaned forward conspiratorially. "So, the position you interviewed for is solid. Good team, decent pay, but there's something else on the horizon that might be even better suited to your skills." "I'm listening." "We're launching a new initiative next quarter, an entire division focused on emerging tech, specifically the kind of architecture you pioneered at TechSphere. It's still under wraps, but the director position is open. It would mean building a team from scratch, setting the technical direction." My pulse quickened. "That sounds incredible." "It would be a significant step up from the role you interviewed for today. More responsibility, better compensation, but also more visibility within the company." I caught his meaning immediately. "You mean more visibility as Olivia's husband?" He nodded. "I won't lie to you, Jason. There's been talk. Olivia has a strong management style. She's made some enemies on her way up. If you took this director role, you'd be operating in that political environment." I consider this, turning my coffee cup slowly in my hands. "I appreciate the heads up, but if I'm the right person for the mo, I want to be considered. I won't let office politics dictate my career choices anymore." "Fair enough. The formal posting won't be up for another few weeks, but I'll make sure your name is in the mix early." He checked his watch. I should get back. But Jason, whatever happens with the rush, it was good meeting you the other night. You seem like a solid guy. Thanks, David, for everything. As I drove home, my mind raced with possibilities. A director position, building a team from scratch, the kind of opportunity I dreamed of even before the tech sphere collapse. And more importantly, a chance to reestablish myself professionally, to stand on equal footing with Olivia again. I wanted to call her immediately to share the news, but something held me back. David's warning about company politics, the talk about Olivia's management style, it gave me pause. I decided to wait until evening when we could discuss it face to face. But when I got home, I found a message from Olivia saying she'd be working late again. The Bailey presentation had hit another snag, and she needed to oversee the revisions personally. So instead, I called my mother. They're considering me for a director position, I told her, unable to keep the excitement from my voice. Building a whole new division around the architecture I developed at TechSphere. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Have you told Olivia? Not yet. She's working late again, but we talked on Sunday, Mom, really talked. I think things might be turning around for us. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. I hope you're right, Jason, I really do. You don't sound convinced. It's not that, I worry that you're pinning too much hope on this job fixing your marriage. Even if you become a director, even if you're making as much money as Olivia or more, the fundamental issues might still be there. I sank onto the couch, deflated. You think it's too late for us? I think relationships can recover from almost anything if both people are truly committed to change. The question is whether Olivia is genuinely sorry for how she's treated you, or just sorry that you've finally called her on it. My mother's words stayed with me as the week progressed. Olivia and I continued our cautious detente, with her making small gestures, bringing home my favorite to take out, asking about my freelance projects with what seemed like genuine interest. But something felt off, performative almost, as if she were checking items off a good wife list rather than truly reconnecting. Friday arrived, the night of Stratosphere's annual gala. Olivia had been fretting about it all week, ensuring her speech was perfect. She was introducing the CEO, agonizing over her dress, coordinating with her team about seating arrangements and talking points. I'd offered to help, but she'd waved me off. Just be ready at 7, she'd said, and wear your navy suit, not the gray one. I bit my tongue at being told what to wear, reminding myself that tonight was important to her career. Partnership meant support, even when it stung a little. At precisely 7, I was waiting in the foyer, navy suit impeccably pressed, as Olivia descended the stairs in a stunning emerald gown that complemented her auburn hair perfectly. You look beautiful, I said sincerely. She smiled, a hint of her old warmth in her eyes. You clean up pretty well yourself. She straightened my tie, unnecessarily, as I'd already checked it twice, and then hesitated. Jason, about tonight, yes? There's going to be a lot of senior leadership there, board members, investors. It's crucial that everything goes smoothly. I understand. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. She flinched slightly at my phrasing. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? She sighed. Can we not do this right now, please? Tonight is important. To your career, I get it. I offered my arm. Shall we? The gala was being held at the Grand Meridian Hotel, the most prestigious venue in the city. As we entered the ballroom, I was struck by the opulence. Crystal chandeliers, elaborate floral arrangements, a string quartet playing softly in one corner. This was a far cry from the tech industry events I was used to, where success was measured in innovation rather than extravagance. Olivia was immediately swept into a circle of executives, introducing me with a quick, "You remember my husband, Jason?" before launching into shop talk. I stood by her side, smiling politely, nursing a scotch, and observing the corporate theater playing out around me. After about 20 minutes, I spotted David across the room and excused myself to say hello. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? He commented as I joined him. Not exactly my scene, I admitted, but it's important to Olivia. He nodded thoughtfully. I heard from the CTO today about your interview. My heart skipped a beat. And? They want to offer you the position. Not the director role, that's still in play for later, but the one you interviewed for. Good salary, full benefits, start date in 2 weeks if you want it. Relief and excitement washed over me. That's fantastic news. There's one small complication. David hesitated. HR needs sign-off from all department heads for external hires at your level, including marketing. Meaning Olivia. Meaning Olivia, he confirmed. It's just a formality, but it gives her veto power over my employment. Essentially, yes. I leaned against a nearby column processing this. Has she said anything to you about it? Not directly, but there was a meeting this afternoon where your candidacy came up. She was non-committal. I see. Look, I'm not trying to cause problems between you two. I just thought you should know before. Jason, there you are. Olivia's voice cut through our conversation as she approached, her smile tight. The CEO is about to arrive. I need you inside for the introductions. I exchanged a quick look with David before following my wife back into the ballroom. As we weaved through the crowd, I leaned close to her ear. Were you going to tell me about the job offer? She faltered mid-step but recovered quickly. Not here, Jason. When then? After you'd already decided whether to give your approval? Her smile remained fixed for the benefit of onlookers. We'll discuss this at home. No, I think we'll discuss it now. Did you plan to block me from getting this job? Of course not. I just have concerns. About what? That I might actually succeed? That I might not need your financial support anymore? That people might see me as something other than Olivia's house husband? Her eyes flashed with anger. Keep your voice down. Or what? You'll be embarrassed? Heaven forbid anyone see the great Olivia Matthews having a disagreement with her husband. You're making a scene, she hissed. This is exactly why I was concerned about you working at Stratosphere. You're too emotional. Emotional, I repeated, a calm sort of clarity descending over me. You know what, Liv? You're right. I am emotional. I'm hurt and angry and disappointed in what our marriage has become. But at least I still feel something. What do you feel besides ambition? Before she could answer, a murmur ran through the crowd, signaling the CEO's arrival. Olivia's expression shuddered. I have to go. We'll finish this later. No, I said quietly. I don't think we will. I watched as she plastered on her professional smile and glided away to greet the CEO, not once looking back at me. In that moment, something crystallized in my mind. This wasn't a temporary rough patch. This was who we had become, who she had become. And no job, no matter how prestigious, would fix that. I made my way to the bar, ordered another scotch, and tried to decide what to do next. Leave? Stay and endure the rest of this charade? Confront Olivia more publicly? You look like you could use a friend, said a voice beside me. I turned to find Megan, Olivia's assistant, looking sympathetic. That obvious, huh? She shrugged. I've worked for Olivia for 3 years. I recognize the aftermath of her management style. Is that what we're calling it now? Among other things, she sipped her champagne. For what it's worth, most of the office thinks she's lucky to have you, the way she talks about you sometimes. It's not right. I felt a chill. What do you mean the way she talks about me? Megan looked uncomfortable. I probably shouldn't say anything. Please, I need to know, she sighed. It's just little comments, jokes about how you can't find a real job, how she has to support your fragile ego, that kind of thing. Each word felt like a physical blow. I see. The worst was at the leadership retreat last month. Someone asked about work-life balance, and she said something like, well, I lucked out. My husband lost his job, so now he takes care of everything at home while I focus on my career. I highly recommend it. Megan winced at the memory. A lot of people laughed, but some of us, we knew it wasn't funny. I drained my scotch, a cold resolve building inside me. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry, I just thought you should know what you were dealing with. Across the room, Olivia was at the podium now, delivering her introduction of the CEO with poise and charm. I watched as the crowd hung on her every word, as they applauded her wit and insight, as they saw only the polished facade she presented to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, she was saying, it's my great privilege to introduce a man who needs no introduction. our visionary leader. I tuned out the rest, my mind already made up. This couldn't continue. I wouldn't let it continue. 18 months of diminishment, of casual cruelty disguised as humor, of being treated as less than in my own marriage. It was enough. More than enough. I waited until she finished her speech and stepped down from the podium to enthusiastic applause. She was immediately surrounded by well-wishers, accepting compliments with practiced grace. I made my way through the crowd toward her, purpose in every step. "Excuse me," I said firmly, inserting myself into the circle. "I need a moment with my wife." The executives parted, some looking curious, others uncomfortable. Olivia's smile strained at the edges. "Can it wait, honey? The Andersons were just telling me about their new yacht." "It can't wait, no." I turned to the group. "Would you mind giving us a minute? It's important." Once they'd moved away, Olivia's smile vanished. "What are you doing?" That was incredibly rude. Is it as rude as blocking your husband's job application for 6 months? Or making jokes about his unemployment to your colleagues? Or using him as your personal success story about work-life balance? Her face paled. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter? Is it true?" She glanced around nervously. "Jason, this is neither the time nor the place." "Actually, it's exactly the right time and place. You've been using me as your punchline in this building for months. Seems fitting to end it here." "In what?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This marriage. This farce, this twisted power dynamic you've created where my value depends on my earning potential." I kept my voice steady, even as emotion threatened to overwhelm me. "I've spent 18 months trying to rebuild while you've systematically undermined me at every turn. It ends now." "You're drunk," she said dismissively. "Let's go home and talk about this when you're sober." "I'm perfectly sober, and we've done enough talking." I stepped back, creating physical distance between us. "I'm done, Olivia. Done being your punchline, your charity case, your convenient excuse for why you can focus on your career while someone else handles the messy details of life." People were starting to notice our conversation, heads turning in our direction. Olivia's professional mask slipped for a moment, raw panic showing through. "Jason, please, not here. Think about my reputation." "That's all you care about, isn't it? Your reputation, your image, your career." I shook my head, a strange calm settling over me. "What about my reputation? Did you think about that when you told your colleagues I couldn't find a real job? When you gave me pocket money at Christmas in front of my family?" She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't realize how it made you feel." "Yes, you did. You just didn't care as long as it served your narrative." I straightened my shoulders. "I've accepted the position at the Austin startup. Full-time, remote work, director level. I start Monday. I'll be staying with my parents until I find my own place. You can have the house. You paid for most of it anyway, as you like to remind everyone." "You're leaving me." Her voice broke, genuine shock in her eyes. "Over some stupid jokes?" "No, Olivia. I'm leaving you because you stopped seeing me as your equal, your partner, your husband. I became an accessory to your success story, and I deserve better than that." I turned to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. "You can't just walk out on our marriage in the middle of a corporate event." "Watch me." She tightened her grip. "You walk out that door, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I have connections, influence." "Are you threatening me now?" I asked calmly. "In a room full of witnesses? That's not very savvy, VP Matthews." She dropped her hand as if burned, suddenly aware of the eyes on us, the whispers starting to circulate. "Jason, please. Let's talk about this at home. I can change. We can fix this." For a moment, I hesitated. There was real fear in her eyes now, fear of losing me or fear of public humiliation. I couldn't tell anymore, and that, perhaps, was the most damning evidence of all. "Goodbye, Olivia. I hope you find what you're looking for." It clearly wasn't me. And with that, I walked away, through the crowd of curious onlookers, past the CEO who was watching with undisguised interest, beyond the crystal chandeliers and marble floors, to the cool night air outside. As I handed my ticket to the valet, David appeared beside me. "You okay?" "Yeah, me." he asked simply. No, I admitted, but I will be. He nodded. The offer still stands, by the way, if you want it. Thanks, but I've accepted a position elsewhere. Fresh start, no baggage. I understand. He handed me a business card, different from the one before. My personal contact. If you ever want to grab a beer or need anything, call me. I appreciate that. My car arrived, and as I drove away from the Grand Meridian, from Olivia, from the ruins of my marriage, I felt a curious mixture of grief and liberation. I had no idea what came next, where I would live, how I would rebuild, whether I'd ever trust someone enough to love them again. But for the first time in 18 months, the future seemed full of possibility rather than dread. I drove to my parents' house, knowing they'd welcome me without question. My mother opened the door, took one look at my face, and simply held out her arms. I stepped into her embrace, years of stored emotion finally breaking free. I left her. I said into her shoulder, I know, sweetheart. I know. She stroked my hair as if I were still a child. You're going to be okay. And standing there in my childhood home, still wearing the navy suit Olivia had selected for her big night, I believed her. The next 6 months passed in a blur of change and growth. The Austin startup position proved challenging, but rewarding. I was building something innovative again, leading a team that respected my expertise. I found a small but comfortable apartment, started reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during my marriage's slow collapse, and even began dating casually. The divorce was contentious at first. Olivia contested it, not out of love, but out of pride. The humiliation of being left publicly had wounded her more deeply than losing me ever could. But eventually, her pragmatic side prevailed, and we reached a settlement that felt, if not fair, then at least final. I heard through mutual connections that things had gone downhill for her at Stratosphere thereafter the gala. The whispers about her management style had grown louder, harder to dismiss. The Bailey account, which had been her major focus, went to a competitor after her presentation fell flat. Without me handling the home front, she struggled to maintain the punishing work schedule she'd established. Mistakes were made, deadlines missed. 6 months to the day after I'd walked out of the Grand Meridian, I was grocery shopping when my phone rang. An unknown local number. Curious, I answered, Jason, it's Megan, Olivia's former assistant. Former? I left Stratosphere a few months ago, couldn't take the toxic environment anymore. She paused. I'm actually calling because I thought you should know. Olivia was let go yesterday. I stopped in the middle of the produce section, surprised by the news and by my own lack of satisfaction at hearing it. What happened? A lot of things. The Bailey account was the beginning, but there were other issues. Client complaints, team members quitting, a pattern of behavior that finally caught up with her. The official line is that she's pursuing other opportunities, but everyone knows she was forced out. I see. I picked up an apple, examined it absently. Why are you telling me this? Because I ran into her today at this little cafe on Elmwood. She's different, quieter. She was actually nice to the server, which, trust me, is a first. She asked about you. I put the apple in my cart, unsure how to respond. What did you tell her? That you'd moved away, started fresh, that you seemed happy last time I saw you. Megan hesitated. She said she was glad, that you deserved to be happy after what she put you through. I think she meant it, Jason. A complex emotion washed over me, not quite forgiveness, not quite closure, but something adjacent to both. Thank you for letting me know. After we hung up, I finished my shopping on autopilot, my mind still processing the news. Olivia, humbled. Olivia, acknowledging her role in our failed marriage. Olivia, changed, or at least beginning to change. It didn't erase the past. It didn't heal the wounds she'd inflicted during those 18 months of slow-motion cruelty. But it suggested that perhaps my mother had been right about another thing. Power doesn't just corrupt, it reveals. And its absence can reveal too, stripping away the artificial confidence, the brittle armor of success, leaving only the person beneath. 3 weeks later, I was leaving work when my phone chimed with an email notification. The subject line made me pause. Long overdue. From Olivia Matthews to Jason Reynolds. Jason, I've started and deleted this email 100 times. No opening seems right after everything that's happened between us. So I'll just say it plainly. I'm sorry. Not for losing my job, or for the humiliation of being left at the gala, or for any of the consequences I've faced. I'm sorry for how I treated you when you needed me most. For turning your misfortune into my opportunity to feel superior. For forgetting that marriage means partnership, in good times and bad. You deserve better. You deserve the woman you married, not the callous, ambitious stranger I became. I've spent the past few months trying to understand how I changed so completely, how I justified treating the person I loved most with such casual cruelty. The answers aren't pretty. Pride, insecurity masked as confidence, the intoxication of power and the fear of losing it. I'm working at a small local shop now. Retail, if you can believe it. The pay is terrible, the hours long, my feet hurt constantly, and my manager is half my age. But there's something quietly satisfying about it too. A simplicity I'd forgotten, and an empathy I'd lost somewhere along the way. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a response. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I threw away, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Be well, Jason. Be happy. Olivia, I stared at the screen for a long time, the words blurring as unexpected tears filled my eyes. Not tears of regret or longing, but of release. The final untangling of the knot that had been my marriage, my heartbreak, my recovery.